We're still cleaning up everything that's happened from the Desmond Bane trade. So what about the draft? The options ahead for the Orlando Magic now that the trade is done today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is June 20th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Credential member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season, at least the 2012 season, probably 2011, somewhere in there. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, so what did the Magic do with the draft now? Number 25 pick, 16's gone, Desmond Bane in tow. Where did the Magic go in the draft? We will talk about the big debate between Walter Clayton and Jase Richardson and whether that will even matter. We'll get to all the options coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day. Whether you're listening to us right when we upload or whether you're listening to us first thing in the morning, right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making us part of your day every day. We especially appreciate all of our everyday listeners. Thank you so much for being part of the Locked On Magic family through the course of the NBA season. Obviously, we've got a Game 7 coming up on Sunday. You can check out Locked On Pacers and Locked On Thunder to get the latest on the NBA Finals and Locked On NBA Big Board to catch up on NBA draft stuff. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The draft, it's coming Wednesday. Like it's right around the corner. As Jeff Weltman always likes to say, the draft plays out differently. It would play out differently if it was held a day earlier, a day later. There is no way to predict what the team is going to do, what any team is going to do on draft night. The Magic are still open to trades, as potentially open to trades, as we talked a little bit about yesterday. There are still a lot of options. And obviously, we're spending the back half of this week resetting the team. The Magic made a major trade on Sunday, a major trade to acquire Desmond Bane, to put themselves in a position to be a better team. That has obviously reset the team's needs. And I previewed this a little, I previewed this a lot yesterday, that I still see the Magic as having two needs they need to fill. They need a backup point guard, and they need another bench scorer. And obviously, and this should be obvious, obviously, the Magic cannot afford to waste opportunities to improve this roster. As I mentioned yesterday, the Magic are very limited financially right now. They are they're already hard capped at the second apron. That's unavoidable. And if the Magic want to add players using the mid-level exception, they'll be hard capped at the first apron. That means they, as I mentioned yesterday, they have about $18 million to fill out the rest of the roster, to fill out these final two needs, to retain Mo Wagner. And yeah, that includes this draft. That does not include this draft pick, which has a cap hold of about $3 million. The fact of the matter is the Orlando Magic have not done a good enough job drafting at the end of the draft. They're late first round picks. They're non like Paolo, Banchero, Franz Wagner picks. A little bit of a spotty record. Now, we'll see how much better Anthony Black gets. Tristan da Silva provided some key moments and key minutes last year. But the Orlando Magic have to do well in this draft. The Magic have to deliver in this. And so ultimately, we got to ask the key question. What are the Magic looking for? Now, as I mentioned yesterday, the point guard market isn't very good. Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report predicted that the Magic would chase Tyus Jones. That is something that I have suspected as well, but Tyus Jones is probably a minimum guy, and Tyus Jones probably not someone you want playing major minutes. That's not to say a rookie is someone you want playing major minutes either, but we've been dancing around this debate the whole draft process. The Magic can get a scoring guard that can complement Anthony Black, that can play really well alongside Anthony Black or Desmond Bane or Jalen Suggs in this draft. And obviously, we've done full episodes on Walter Clayton, and we'll rehash some of those stats here in a minute. The debate, honestly, if I were the Magic, I think this is where you target. I think you target one of these scoring guards. I think in this draft, you target a guard or a wing. And we'll get to some of the wings and some of the shooters in a minute. But I want to put special focus on those guards, on those point guards. Because essentially, we don't even know if they'll be available at 25. Let's make that 100% clear. But essentially, I think a lot of this draft comes down to Jase Richardson or Walter Clayton. And honestly, if I were the Magic, I would be trying to see if I could leverage my second round picks, leverage a second draft guy in Jet Howard, see if there's a way to move up from 25 into the late teens, back into the late teens, 18, 19, 20, 21, to ensure that I get one of these two guards. Now, again, I'm a big believer. Let me make this really clear. I don't know if the Magic are interested in either Walter Clayton or Jase Richardson. Walter Clayton's a little bit bigger, a little bit older, not much of a defender, not really the Magic's type. Jase Richardson measured at 6 feet, 0.75 at the combine. He's got like 6'6" wingspan, though, 6'7" wingspan, so he checks that box. He's a little small for what the Magic like. And there are questions about him. And we're going to get into some of those questions in the second segment here in a minute. I don't know if the Magic like these guys. I will continue to say, though, that my drafting philosophy is always you're drafting the player, not the spot. The Magic should chase after the guy that they like. And frankly, I think they should be aggressive and trade up to, especially now, to ensure they get the guy they like. Now, a lot of Magic fans obviously like Walter Clayton. They know him. He went to Florida, won a national championship. We all saw him on the biggest stage that college basketball offers. Obviously, a really solid player. Clayton has gotten better each season in college. He played 4 years, finished last year averaging 18.3 points per game, only 4.2 assists per game. That's a career high. Shot 44.8% from the floor and 38.6% from three on 7.8 attempts per game, 56% effective field goal percentage, career 87.9 free throw percentage. Walter Clayton, like essentially what I'm looking for from either Walter Clayton or Jase Richardson would be to replace what the Magic lost in Cole Anthony. I know I've said this a million times when I've done these season reviews or these needs reviews. I've said the Magic need to upgrade Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Check. Done that. They need to upgrade Cole Anthony, and they need to upgrade Gary Harris. And maybe that is Caleb Houston. Maybe that is Jed Howard. Maybe that is on the roster. I'm not, and I don't even, there have been some people that have suggested the Magic could bring back Gary Harris on a minimum contract. I don't hate the idea, but I also don't think if Gary Harris is in the rotation again, that's actually probably a problem. The Magic needs some bench scoring. And personally, Walter Clayton will have to get used to NBA speed. And he'll have to prove himself on an NBA floor. But this is a guy that knows how to create space, create separation. He knows how to score. He is not afraid of big moments. He will figure it out. He went from Iona to Florida without much of a problem. And obviously the jump from a mid-major, and Iona's always been a good program, a jump from a mid-major to an SEC school is a shorter jump than from any college team to the NBA. Even a national championship team. But Clayton has all the skills offensively the Magic need. Look, I'm a Gator fan. You probably see me wear some Gator gear on the show. I really like Walter Clayton. I don't know if he checks off all the Magic's boxes like some of the other guards that I want to chat a little bit about. We're going to run a little heavy on this show. I really think Walter Clayton should be near the top of the list. Should be a big target because he is someone that will step in and play well immediately. And, does all the things that winning teams should like. Now, personally, I think scouts view Walter Clayton better than the mock drafts have him. I don't think Clayton's going to be there 25. And in fact, I do think Clayton's going to get taken ahead of Jase Richardson, which is not how a lot of mock drafts have it going. So who is Jase Richardson then? If this is a debate between Clayton and Richardson, is Richardson the better option? We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Car Gurus. Shopping for a car should be exciting, not exhausting. But between the confusing prices and hidden fees, it can feel overwhelming. That's why I love using Car Gurus. They help you cut through the noise and show you the best deals with full confidence. With more than 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more new and used cars than any other major online marketplace in the US. They verify dealers, provide real price analysis, and give you the tools and data you need to make the right choice without second guessing yourself. If you need a deal you can trust, Car Gurus makes it easy to compare vehicles side by side with unbiased deal ratings. And their best feature are their price drop alerts, so you know exactly when the perfect car is available for your budget. It's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.com, Cargurus, CARGURUS.com, cargurus.com. So, like I mentioned, this is a debate. I will honestly say, watching some tape, I fall on the Walter Clayton side of the debate. I think Walter Clayton is ultimately the better player. And I think provides the better player for the Magic. Let's say that. Providing the needs that they have in the short term with potential long-term growth and all the skills that the Magic are looking for. I think that look, we're going to talk plenty about Anthony Black once the roster is settled in and we understand what the contours of his role is going to be. There is going to be a debate about whether Anthony Black can be a backup point guard and how much the Magic should trust him on that front. I'll say this. I like Anthony Black with another ball handler next to him. I like him playing the two a little bit more. And, the positions are fudgy on this Magic team. So don't get hung up on that. Anthony Black will do point guard things. I don't want him doing point guard things alone. He just hasn't shown me enough that he can do that. I want the support for him. And that's why I think the Magic are really focused on the point guards in this draft. And some of it is just what's available. Like, who are the best players in this draft? What needs can the Magic fill? Where can the Magic fill some short-term needs? Free agency is going to be a lot better for wings than it is for point guards, as I mentioned yesterday. And again, there are a lot of interesting guards. I'm going to get to a few more here. But let's talk Jase Richardson because we haven't really talked about him. Jase Richardson, son of former Magic guard Jase Richardson, had a really impressive year at Michigan State. He averaged 12.1 points per game, shot 49.3% from the floor, 41.2% from three on 3.2 attempts per game, shot 83.6% from the line, got there 3.4 attempts per game. He, in Big Ten play, and a lot of people like to split into Big Ten play, he averaged 12.5 points per game, shot 48.6% from the floor, 3-point field goal percentage dropped to 33.8%. Michigan State had some guard injuries, forced him into a little bit more of an on-ball role than I think they wanted him to have. And look, he struggled. He is not a playmaker. He is not a point guard. He is listed at 6'3". Like I mentioned, he measured in at 6 feet 0.75, I think, at the combine without shoes. So again, without shoes is always a caveat, but that's how they keep the baseline. Jase doesn't check all the boxes for the Magic. Now, I will say this. By all statistics, Jase Richardson was probably the best finisher at the rim in college basketball. Walter Clayton is looking to shoot jumpers. He's looking to shoot step backs, shoot pull-ups, keep you off balance to get to the rim, hit three-pointers, hit those kind of big three-pointers in your eye. That is not Jase Richardson's game. Jase Richardson's game is I'm going to get downhill. I'm going to finish at the basket. He can create separation. I like his mid-range shot a lot. And I think his three-point shot will come around and he'll be a solid spot-up shooter when he doesn't need the ball in his hands as much. And on this Magic team, theoretically, playing off of Paolo, playing off of Franz, he wouldn't need the ball in his hands as much. But like I said, his skill set doesn't align as much with what the Magic need. The size is definitely a factor. The fact that he is small and is not much of a playmaker, is not much of a creator for anyone besides himself, which he's, again, very good at. I'm always cognizant when I talk draft, focus on what guys can do rather than what they can't do. But the fact of the matter is we're at a point where the Magic need to fill roles. The Magic have minutes to fill and things they need to accomplish to win, to be competitive, to advance in the playoffs. And you got to ask yourself, are these playoff players? Walter Clayton showed us in the NCAA tournament that he is a playoff player. He showed us that he's going to step up when the pressure is completely on him. Not that Jase Richardson didn't, because if the option are these two guys, this is the kind of comparison you have to make. In the NCAA tournament, Jase Richardson played well. He scored 20 points in the Sweet 16 win over Ole Miss, shot 4 for 6 from 3, had 15 points in the first round win over Bryant. In the Elite Eight game against Auburn, he scored 11 points on 4 for 13 shooting. There are issues there. His size is a factor. And so if this is the debate, I fall on the Walter Clayton side. If this is the debate, if these are the two players the Magic are picking from, I fall on the Clayton side. Now, like I said, I think the Magic, if this is the focus, if this is the direction, and this is what I would be doing, I would be focused on one of these two guys. I do not hate Jase Richardson. I would be very happy if the Magic took Jase Richardson. I think there are some flaws and some things that the Magic would have to fill in, and he's a freshman. He's going to have to answer some questions, and I don't think he's as ready to compete as Walter Clayton is. But if I were the Magic, I would be trying to trade up to ensure I get one of these two guys. Because as far as point guards, there is a drop-off. And look, we're going to get to the shooting wings next week. I'm going to save that for Tuesday probably. I'll save that for Megapod on Tuesday. Like your Liam McNeely's, Cedric Coward, if he's still there, I don't know. I don't think Cedric Coward's going to be there. Your Neek Clifford's, there are some shooters, not a lot. I'm not a huge fan of the wings in this draft. And again, some of them are going to be gone. I don't think the Magic are going. We'll talk about bigs here in a minute. I think the Magic need to ensure they get one of these two guys. Now, there are some back-end point guard options that I really like. We talked a little bit about Jaeger Demon. Jaeger Demon is probably the best passer in this draft. The BYU guard, he's 6'8", has good feel. Everyone's comparing him to Josh Giddey because he's a great passer, great feel for the game, cannot shoot worth a lick. Like, he's got a lot of work to do as a shooter. His free throw percentage is good. I'm not taking him off my board. He is very much a player the Magic would tend to draft. But that lack of provable immediate skill set takes him off the board for me. I think the Magic will also look very hard at Nolan Traore. Nolan Traore is a French guard. He played in Germany this year. He played in France. He played in France. Ben Seraph played in Germany. We'll talk about Ben Seraph in a minute. Nolan Traore, I really like his feel for the game. Like, he's got good athleticism. He's good at probing the paint, makes good passes. Jumper is still coming around, but he showed some really good signs. And, he had a really strong start to the season, really strong finish to the season. A lot of the scouts who saw him live saw him like when he was dead tired, apparently, when they were all in Paris for the NBA games. And so he didn't play well in front of eyes. And so Nolan Traore is a lottery talent. He's like 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", playing point guard, good arms. Like, he's young. He's got to learn a lot of things. But he is, if the Magic took Nolan Traore, I think there'd be a lot of fans who are like, who is this guy? Why did the Magic take this guy? And like all of us draft people would be like, no. This is a good idea. This kid, it might take some time, but he can play. Again, we know the Magic's time. They like guards like Nolan Traore. They like guards like Jaeger Demon. It's just they need the immediate shooting touch. The other guy to keep an eye on is Israeli guard Ben Seraph. Ben Seraph is playing in Germany for Ratio Farm, I believe. He is really interesting. Again, another big guy, 6'5", 6'6", good arms, just good sense. Like, it never, like, when I've watched highlights of him, it doesn't look like he gets sped up. He looks very, very comfortable. He kind of plays slow. And so I think there's a little bit of a concern about him unable to get a good first step, but he's really, really crafty with how he works in the paint, makes great passes. His mid-range jumper is good. I'm really confident his mid-range jumper. I would call him, I've kind of described him as like, he plays like Anthony Black with a mid-range jumper. Except his defense needs a lot of work. His shooting is also, his outside shooting, his three-point shooting is also pretty poor. So, like, the reason why I focus on guards in this draft is because I like the guards in this draft. Like, there are enough of them that I feel comfortable taking. And I mentioned some of the wings. The one thing I haven't mentioned are the bigs. And there are some centers in the draft. And I don't have center down as a need. So should the Magic go big instead? Talk a little bit about some of the bigs in this draft coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Wayfair. There is nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal oasis. If you want to update your patio this season, Wayfair has made it so easy to turn it into a space that feels like yours. Comfortable, stylish, and ready for summer. Wayfair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space. Conversation sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even the perfect string lights to set the vibe. It's like giving your backyard that resort feel without the resort price tag. It's obviously, we're here in Florida. We get a lot of time outdoors. If you want to prepare for winter, this is the time to start setting all that up. If you do want to spend time in those rare cool moments this summer, Wayfair can help you set up the perfect outdoor space for your barbecues, for your get-togethers by the pool, whatever it is. So don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. I do think this. Now that the Magic have kind of settled their guard rotation or their starting guards, I do think the pressure and the eye turns to Wendell Carter and to the center position. Now, I don't think the Magic are looking to touch the center position very much this offseason. They've got Wendell Carter. He's still on his old contract. His new extension doesn't kick in for another year. The Magic aren't going to get much trade value for him. He had kind of a down season. They don't have any first-round picks to attach to him anymore. I do think the Magic are sticking with their center rotation. I know there's been some unsubstantiated stuff about some centers in the trade market. I don't know if the Magic are going that direction. Obviously, the big task in free agency, aside from the Paolo extension, is re-signing Mo Wagner. I do think that should be a priority to bring back Mo Wagner in whatever fashion that takes. He's obviously out till December, so you need a backup center. Unless the Magic are planning to trade Goga Bitadze, which definitely possible. Like, I don't want to throw that out the window, and look, anything's possible. Goga Bitadze, I think, is a fine option as that third emergency center. And, the Magic are going to have some center questions to come. I don't think the Magic are focused on center and free agency unless Mo Wagner walks. And if the Magic do draft a center, I would say that is a good sign that they're not bringing back Mo Wagner, which would be very disappointing and very frustrating, but it's business. It's understandable. There are center options, though, and there are some good ones, some interesting ones, some ones that should make you a little scary, too, a little afraid, too. There are guys that I think the Magic would like that could handle that center position. In ESPN's latest mock draft, they have the Orlando Magic taking Maxime Reynaud from Stanford. Reynaud is really, really interesting. Just a big guy, 7'1", 235 pounds. He averaged 20.2 points per game, led the ACC with 10.6 rebounds per game, added 1.4 blocks per game last year, shot 34.7% from three on 5.5 attempts. So a little bit of an outside shooter as well. 77% from line. He's a career 73.2% free throw shooter. So definitely potential as a 7-footer to spread the floor and be a shooter. Obviously, doing all this last year in the revamped ACC, really, really impressive. In ACC play, he averaged 19.3 points per game, grabbed 9.9 rebounds per game, 1.5 blocks per game, shot 33.9% from three on 5.9 attempts per game, and then 84.9% from the line. So there is, if the Magic are going to draft a center, I actually think it'll be Thomas Sorber. But Maxime Reynaud should be on the list and should be a center the Magic look at because he gives them the shooting they need. He is a good rebounder. He can hold his own as a shot blocker. Now, I would mention this. This is always something I look to as well. There's a lot of flotsam and jetsam in college. Like it's easy to have it's easy to play a lot of bad teams. In the NIT, he had a 22.11 rebound game against Cal State Northridge and a 22.10 rebound game against Kent State. So played well in the NIT, played well in tournament action. In the ACC tournament, 23 points, 8 rebounds against California, 17 points, 5 rebounds against Louisville. And that's the biggest point I want to make. Against quality opponents, against big opponents, that's what I look to, especially with centers. Against Cayman Malwalk and Duke in February at Duke, long cross-country trip, obviously, but 19.7 rebounds, 7 for 21 shooting, including 4 for 9 on threes. That means he was 3 for 12 on 2-pointers against the best center in this draft. Obviously, they're probably not matching up directly against each other, but that's why Reynaud is in the 20s and not in the teens in the lottery, because I think there is a concern that Reynaud can't necessarily hold his own against more physical, burly centers. Like, look, he's big, uses his size well against smaller guys, but against the bigger, stronger guys, and Malwalk has his flaws. That's why he's in the 20s. Like, you got to figure out, okay, why is this guy in the 20s if there's a lot to like about him? It wouldn't shock me if the Magic draft Reynaud, but I do think the target is probably more Thomas Sorber. Thomas Sorber is 6'10", 255, played at Georgetown last year, played 24 games. I believe he suffered a foot injury in February. So the injury concern is the reason why he's sitting in the 20s. That has to be cleared up, and you don't draft him if you're not confident in the injury stuff. Averaged 14.5 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game, 2 blocks per game. Not a three-point shooter, 16.2% on 1.5 attempts per game. Shot 72.4% from the line, so I think he's a better shooter than that, just doesn't have the three-point range. Sorber measured, I think, with it was like a 7'6" wingspan. Like, Sorber had the longest wingspan among the bigs. And certainly compared to his height, had like probably the best plus wingspan among bigs. He's a little bit ground bound. He's not like I'm going to jump and swat the shot, but he's Wendell Carter with more wingspan, defensively at least. And so I think that obviously that's a tool the Magic love to have. I like Sorber a lot. He's maybe doesn't have the second jump, so you still have that problem that the Magic have with Carter. But he guards his space really, really well. And again, that's what the Magic value. That's what the Magic like. So it wouldn't shock me if the Magic center rankings are Sorber, then Reynaud, probably Joan Berenger of France would be behind them. I like Ryan Kalkbrenner, shot blocker from Creighton, has some three-point shooting ability, another 7-footer. I like him more than Danny Wolf. Danny Wolf to me is a lot of stats. He racks up stats. He's a good passer for to and I know the Magic do value that out of their centers. But not a good enough three-point shooter for the amount of threes he makes. Not a good enough defender to be a starting center. I'm kind of out on Danny Wolf. I don't think Danny Wolf is the guy for the Magic. But like the guards, you kind of have to take what the draft gives you. And if the draft is giving you a big, even if you don't need a big, if you don't explicitly need a big, you kind of have to take what you're given and take those opportunities. Again, I am very comfortable with all the options the Magic have at 25. I said this before the draft, before the Magic even traded 16. I think the Magic will get a quality player at 25. Now, it may be someone they need to develop. I think the Magic would prefer to take a Nick Clifford or take a Walter Clayton, who have played a little bit more, are a little bit more established, even a Maxime Reynaud. I think they would prefer to take those guys over Jase Richardson, over Nolan Traore, even over Thomas Sorber, maybe over someone like Cedric Howard, who has played 3 years in college, had had the injury last year, but really impressive measurables. Like did do good things at Washington State before his injury, and did do good things at Eastern Washington before then. I think that. Look, I don't think Cedric Howard's going to be there 25. Like, let me make that clear. I think Cedric Howard's going to be your surprise lottery pick this year. You got to have to take what the draft gives you. And the Magic obviously have very specific goals now and very specific needs that they need to they need to find, I think they can find those in this draft. And I'm very confident the Magic will exit draft night with a player they can use. If not one that they'll use this year, one that they feel very confident they can develop into a rotation player when they need to be pinching their pennies, when they need to be very careful and very precise about the kind of people and players that they target to continue to advance this thing forward. The draft's going to be fascinating this year. I think there's going to be a lot that's going to happen on draft night. And look, I think the Magic are definitely a team that could still be looking to try and trade around and trade up and maybe even trade out of the draft to get another veteran. But we'll see what the Magic ultimately do, because we are in the final countdown toward draft day, and the Magic obviously have their work cut out for them. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You can, of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of me still download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can also find us on YouTube. To search for Locked On Magic. Appreciate everyone who listened throughout the course of the week. Been a very busy, very exciting week here at Locked On Magic. I appreciate all of you who have subscribed to Locked On Magic. Appreciate all of my everydayers. Appreciate all of you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, your Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. I'm finishing up player evaluations this weekend. I've got 2 players left, Paolo and Franz. I'm working on Paolo this morning. I'll have Jamal Mosley and Jeff Weltman evaluations as well. We're going to wrap that up, get ready for the offseason here, as we're already there. We're already in the offseason. So we'll see what happens. And of course, Game 7 of the NBA Finals on Sunday. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We will talk next week. We'll talk Monday about Game 7, of course. We'll also talk about what the Magic's move for Desmond Bane says about Paolo Banchero and the pressure that now turns to him and the responsibility he has as the star. We'll get to that next week. We'll do a lot more draft stuff next week as well as we get ready for the NBA draft. But that's going to do it for me this week. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will see you all Sunday night after the NBA Finals. We'll talk to you then. For Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.